Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be discussing Class 10th English First Flight book, Prose 3, Two Stories About Flying, Part 2, The Black Aeroplane by Frederick Forsyth. Frederick Forsyth was born on 25th August 1938 in England. He was a professional pilot, and in this story he narrates his experience, that how his black Dakota aeroplane was moving over France back to England. And the weather was quite good. He could see stars in the sky. Everything was going smooth. And it was around 1 o'clock in the morning. He was excited to be with his family and have a rich breakfast. When he was passing over the Paris control room, he informed the Paris control room and he was asked to take 12-degree west. So when he took 12-degree west, all of a sudden he saw a big black cloud storm. He compared it with Black Mountain. He wanted to be with his family, so he took the risk and he jumped and twisted into that black cloud. He went inside the black cloud and then he could see nothing over there because of the poor weather condition. His instrument stopped working, his compass and other instrument were totally dead. And he had only last fuel tank left with him. All of a sudden he saw another aeroplane, so he could feel some relax. He could see the black aeroplane's pilot face. He was waving. Black aeroplane's pilot was waving his hand to narrator, to Frederick. So narrator was frightened as the fuel was not enough and he could fly only 5 to 10 minutes more. He thought to take help from the black aeroplane's pilot and followed him. And after following him, when he was only left with some fuel, so he got worried. And all of a sudden, he could see a runway before him. And that black aeroplane got disappeared. So when the narrator wanted to know about the black aeroplane's pilot, so he ran to the control room and asked from the controller, from the lady, that who was the another pilot. The lady laughed that there was no any other aeroplane. She could see only narrator's aeroplane. So this is the introduction of the chapter. I hope you have got some idea of this. Now we'll be starting the text Let's start. The Black Aeroplane, page 37, first paragraph. The moon was coming up in the east behind me. The stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There was not a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So, when the chapter begins, we get to know that when the narrator was in the sky, when he was moving in the sky, so he could see the clear sky, he could see the stars, or we can say the stars and the clear sky could be seen. So the pilot felt peace in being above a country that had fallen asleep. He was happy that the country had which had fallen asleep, he was flying over France to England. Around it was 1:30 in the morning, and he was fantasizing about holidaying with his family. He was planning to have a holiday with his family after this flight. Let's read the text. I should call Paris control soon, I thought as I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane. I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris control, Dakota DS088 here. Can you hear me? I am on my way to England. Over. So, when the aeroplane was in France, the pilot thought to inform the Paris control personnel about its presence. And he wanted instructions from the Paris control room. So he was instructed to take, he told that he has reached here, and he told that he is Dakota DS088. And he told the Paris control room that he is on his way to England. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS088, over. So when he informed Paris control room about his presence, then he was instructed by the Paris control room to take 12-degree west. Paris control room informed him that he can be heard by them, and I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. So the narrator was excited. He followed the given instruction of taking 12 degrees west, and the narrator was quite happy that he'll be there with his family in time and will be having a good breakfast with them. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. Storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to north or south. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. Now, Paris was 150 kilometers behind him. Then he saw the clouds, the storm clouds. These clouds were huge, like the size of black mountains standing before him. He knew that he cannot fly up and over them, and he did not have enough fuel to fly around because he had only one fuel tank with him. So, first he thought to go back to Paris. Then again he thought of the good breakfast with his family. So he decided to take risk, and he decided to take the risk, and he flew his old Dakota straight into the storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I could not believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. Please note down the word meanings. Suddenly, unexpectedly. Suddenly, unexpectedly, twisted. Twisted, to bend into a shape. To bend into a shape. Believe. Believe, have faith. Believe, have faith. Instruments. Instruments, tools. When he entered the clouds, it was so dark that he could not see anything, or we can say nothing was visible outside the plane. He started losing control of the aeroplane. The compass and the other instruments had also stopped working because of the bad weather. So he became helpless. Now he had no idea what to do. He tried everything but nothing budged. Because of all the aeroplanes, his radio, his other instruments of the aeroplane, everything stopped working due to the poor weather. Now he had no idea what to do. Paris control, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then, in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turns towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. Follow me, he was saying, follow me. He knows that I am lost. I thought. He's trying to help me. When he was lost in the dark black cloud, he tried to connect with Paris Control Agency, but there was no reply. His radio, his instruments, his compass, everything was in poor condition because of the poor weather. Nothing happened. Nobody replied from the Paris Control Agency. All of a sudden, the narrator saw a black aeroplane. It was another aeroplane, and the narrator could see through the storm. He could see through the storm a black aeroplane, and he saw a man waving to him. This man was another pilot. This man was waving to the narrator and asking him to follow him. The narrator thought that the other pilot wanted to help him. The narrator thought that the other pilot knows that he is lost, so he is offering help. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly over 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down and I followed through the storm. Suddenly, I came out of the clouds and saw two straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. Please note down the meanings. Through, from one side to the other. From one side to the other. Turned, twisted. Glad, happy. Waved, moved hand. Strange, uncommon. Obedient, dutiful, Dutiful. Frightened, terrified. Yeah. Runway, a strip of hard ground along which aircraft take off and land. I repeat, a strip of hard ground along which aircraft take off and land. The other, the other pilot took his plane ahead of the lost aeroplane. That means the old Dakota. The other pilot took his plane ahead of the old lost Dakota to guide him, right? And the narrator followed the other aeroplane, the pilot, like an obedient child. Now, there was a situation where the pilot, the narrator, Frederick Forsyth, again started panicking. Why? Because he was left with only very less amount of fuel. Yeah. After flying around half an hour, now he was left only with very less amount fuel. He could only fly for 5 to 10 more minutes. Now, the narrator, Frederick Forsyth, was feeling very panicked. He was agitating. Now, when he was worried, suddenly he saw that he came out of the black cloud. He could see a runway before him. Yes, he was safely out of that black cloud. And when he was on that runway, he safely landed on the runway. He turned to thank the other pilot. But what he saw, there was no one. There was no other plane, there was no other pilot who had helped him. The other pilot and the plane had disappeared. That had helped him to come out of that storm. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. Another aeroplane. Up there in the storm. No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So, who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? Strangely, in a strange manner. Now, author did not know that where he had landed, but he was not afraid of leaving his aeroplane. He left his aeroplane unattended and ran to the control room, and he was not sorry to leave his aeroplane like that. He went to the control room and asked the lady about the other pilot and other black aeroplane. But to his surprise, lady laughed and informed him that there was no other aeroplane and pilot. Only he was the one who was flying tonight. The lady informed him that she could see only him on the radar. There was no any other black aeroplane. There was no any other pilot. Now the narrator was amazed that who was the pilot who helped him, where that black aeroplane had come from. Now he was left with these questions only. There was no any answer of his questions about the pilot as well as the black aeroplane. So now the text ends here. I hope this explanation is clear to you. Read the text thoroughly once again and note down the difficult words meaning in your notebook. In next video, I'll be discussing question answers of this part 2. Till then, stay safe.